these were recommended for me on Amazon. I think you're nailing life. If you're on the computer, Amazon's like, I think you might like these. You're fucking right. I bloody would. I'm almost 40. Thank you. So here we are. So here we are. The show. So this is welcome. So this is my show. It's bouncy here. It didn't used to be before lockdown. Now it's bouncy. Why is that? The show. The show is called. People think the show is called Mother, but they're actually mistaken. It's actually called Moth ER. Yeah. And it's a show where I reenact various situations where moths have found themselves in the emergency room, you see. So, number one is, moth, did you lose a moth? Oh, you lost your ham. It makes more sense than you having a moth. Oh my God, I had a moth situation. Harriet, quickly, come on. There was a massive moth on the train station in Manchester Piccadilly, and it was like prehistoric. It was so big, and I said because it was in front of a really busy train, so I was like, people are going to stand on the moths, and I went to the ticket person, and I was like, did you know that there is? And he was like, is this about the moth? And I was like, do something, just oh dear. And then I got on its back, and off I went. But anyway, is the first moth is and that is, you might not know this, but often moths get chased by bats, and when that happens, they've got a shrill noise that they make to deter the bat, you see. And this one moth in particular had been chased by a lot of bats, so had been doing his shrill noise an awful lot, giving himself tinnitus, and then gone to soothe himself, but then realised he doesn't have hands or ears. but it's a lot to commit to for an hour. Give us a cheer if you've ever had a mother. Yeah, you see. Topical. And I think no matter what your upbringing, we can all appreciate, we always think of our mums when we hear certain sayings and phrases and stuff. So my mum used to say, instead of saying excuse me, she would always say, pardon Mrs. Arden, there's a pussycat in your garden. Isn't that odd? But it must come from somewhere. I should probably Google it, but then I don't really want to shatter the illusion. Do you know what I mean? I don't really want to know. And once I did a preview in Stourbridge, and this lady said, my mum used to say, pardon Mrs. Arden, there's a cow in your garden. So it must be like a regional thing. So in Cornwall, it would be like, pardon Mrs. Arden, there's yet another holiday home in your garden. So it's just, varies. Another thing my mum would say was, careful or you'll split your difference. And that comes with a lot of imagery, doesn't it? Of wow. Yeah. Yeah. Very much so. And another one, which actually you said earlier, Tegan, is a swizz. If something's that's a swizz, that is. My mum always used to say that's a swizz. And I tell you what was a swizz. When I was a kid, yes, I was a baby goat, and okay, you're not to mention it. When I was a kid at school, I've never said that before. Shock myself. When I was a kid, we used to. Did you have to do this? So obviously, every single child at school had to do sports day. But at my school, every single child had to raise money. You know, someone's going on sponsorship up a mountain or something, and they've got to raise money. Every child had to do that at school for sports day. So think how much money they were raising, and it was all through fifes. You know, fifes. You know, fifes. Fifes, the bananas. Fifes. I think it's the way I say fifes, you know, fifes. Even more a palaver when I was doing this in Scotland, because they got fife the place. So it was just, and I didn't realise they had Fife the place. So it was just me going, do you know Fife? They'd be like, yeah, in Scotland. And I went, what the fuck? But Fifes, you know Fifes? Yeah. And you had to, so we had to raise money for Fifes, you know Fifes? And, and then, but all the posh kids just raised all the money and they would get, so you'd have all these prizes. So top tier Fife, you know Fifes? The top tier prize was little banana defibrillators. That's top tier Fife prize. And, but I didn't. I tried really hard as well to raise money and, and didn't get the defibrillators. I got the booby prize, which everyone got, but like I said, I tried really hard and the booby prize, no disrespect to the man, but it was, do you remember, it was a signed photo of Chris Akabusi. Do you remember Chris Akabusi? Yeah, and it was a very glossy photo, and it was that glossy that I stood on it, slipped, and that was the first time I heard my mum say, careful, or you'll split your difference. Yeah, my mum was a lovely lady. She's fantastic. She had like bright orange hair, like she dyed, and she had wore bright orange trousers, and she had a massive hole in her stomach. But you never really noticed that because you were just naturally drawn to her very bright hair, very bright legs, and she had very bright hair and very bright legs because she was from Doncaster. Oh my God, that's near here. It's from. Is this fair to say? Are you both? Oh, okay. You're like, I'm not having anything to do with this. My mum said that she wore very bright clothes. I just spat, sorry. Because Doncaster was so depressing. But I once went to Doncaster and there was just loads of dead birds on the floor. Yeah. Like they just flew over and thought, fucking hell. Just flop themselves out the sky, and it always smelt of death. But the train station is next to an abattoir, so it literally does. So I knew a man that worked there, and there was a rumour going around in the 90s that there was kangaroos in Doncaster, but that was my fault. So yeah, because I once seen a dog on its hind legs, so thought it was a kangaroo. Told everyone. So when we were in Cornwall, we'd go to Dyer to visit my grandma, my mum's mum, and we'd get the train from Cornwall to bloody right old Mission. And then what I loved about my mum was that she was and I'm drawn to people now like this subconsciously, people that like look at life like through the eyes of a child, like metaphorically, not just like. Also, my mum's friend Liz said what she loved about my mum was that she never judged anyone. She felt she could tell her anything and she would never judge. But I've said, Liz, why would you be friends with people that judge you, Well, I'm not my mother's daughter after all, And so we went to visit my mum's mum on the train, and then my mum got this, Connect 4, that's got like a board like that with legs. And then, this was like that, but instead of the holes, it was a net. And then the game was you had these plastic spiders and you had to flick them onto the net. It's not a train game. It's just these fucking spiders flicking around. And we only got as far as Bodmin, and some guy says, "Can you please keep your spiders within the vicinity of your own table?" Because we're just fucking flicking these spiders. And then that was the trip as well that I put a hula hoop on each finger. And then I went to the toilet, and then I come back still with a hula hoop on each finger. And my mum said that was very unhygienic and very, very judgmental of you there, Viv. Actually, I always got on really well with my gran, but there were signs that she maybe wasn't. So my mum said that she had this bird called Jackie, and then one day she got home from school, and her mum had left the window open, and Jackie had flown away. And then my mum goes, "Will Jackie be all right?" And her mum said, "Well, because of her bright colours, the other birds will probably peck her to death." Isn't that really sad? And then another time she was having a dinner and her mum goes, "What are you up to tonight, Viv?" And my mum goes, "Oh, well, now that Jackie's not around, I'll probably just feed the rabbits." And her mum goes, "Well, no, you won't, because you just eaten them." Yeah. Yeah. I said that in Edinburgh at the festival, and then this lady started crying, and I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Are you all right?" And she goes, "Well, because I'm a vegan." And I said, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry." But then, to try and make it better, I got it very wrong. And I said, well, funny you should say that, because I was driving and a rabbit ran into my wheel. Why did I say this? A rabbit ran into my wheel and then it was just dying. So then I pulled over to try and rescue it. And then I tried to give it mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Yeah, and then what happened was I accidentally ate the rabbit's last breath. So now I spend my life worrying that I'm possessed by the spirit of a dead rabbit. So I said to the lady, so on behalf of someone that's got the spirit of a rabbit within them, don't worry about it. Yeah, so my mum left home at 15, and you're not leaving home at 15 for shits and giggles, and you're not having a nice time. So she went to London, met my dad, and then my dad, dearie me, he was stressed. Shows itself in the most peculiar of ways, doesn't it? So my dad, does anyone get this? I have it often. I think it's quite a regular thing. When you're so stressed, you get a wowk eye. Face in the seat. So when your eye goes, when your eye does that when you're stressed. But I don't know why I told you that. My dad didn't have that. My dad had. Do you get a wowk eye?
Yeah.
Well, now you got a word. Now you got a word for it. Or is that just what you tell your girlfriend? So when you're like winking at all the ladies, you're like, "Let me off. It's me wowk eye." But anyway, my dad got so stressed that he had a massive elbow. Have you ever known that? It grew so big, even a tubey grip couldn't squash it down, just this massive elbow. And everyone said that when my dad come to pick me up from school, that my dad's elbow would come to pick me up before my dad's. Just massive. So, those adverts where it's like, if Carlsberg made hats, they'd be the best hats in the world. I think my family's like, if Picasso made families. Like, my dad with his massive elbow, my mum with a hole in her stomach and a... Yeah. So my dad's from Cornwall originally, so they all moved back to Cornwall. And I always think it's weird with little villagers, what they think is weird. So, did you hear that? I just did a burp, but it was a silent burp. I never know whether... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I can feel it. Oh. It's one of them ones... My friend Jack says that I've got the demeanour of someone that's got gills behind their ears, and then if ever we went to the seaside, I'd just jump in and just dive off there to me, and I'm happy with that. So when we moved to a little village in Cornwall, people thought we were weird, but just because we wore bright colours, and because my dad had a massive elbow, I guess that's why as well. But so then when my mum was walking us to school, the bus would go past, and they'd shout "skinny bitch" at my mum. But they were very stupid, because we used to get the bus, and we only stopped getting the bus because this girl poured a can of Coke on my head because she said that my legs were too hairy for the bus. My legs too hairy for the bus. So when the bus went past and someone shouted "skinny bitch" at my mum, we were just like, oh, well, that's the bus we usually get. Where did that come from? Top dead right hand side is fucking banana head. Fucking banana head. Fucking prick. I hope he slips on his own head. Do you want another moth? Bung. Bung. It's been rattling when I move. Bung. That is a moth. Spoiler alert. That is very hungry, so he's gone into a wardrobe for a little bit of a peck, and got been nibbling away. Got stuck in a waistband. I didn't realise that, because we didn't have much money growing up, but I didn't even realise, because this is going to sound so wanky, but we were like so loved, so I had such a lovely time, and I didn't even know that, because we only did stuff that didn't really cost any money, so Mum would always take us on nature trails, and she had this book of leaves, and then we'd like go off and find some leaves, and then she'd be like, "Ooh, that's that leaf." But then, then we only stopped doing that because wherever I went, I'd always just pick up a turd. It was just, yeah, always, every time. What about this leaf? It's always a turd, Harriet. And then, just lucky being from Cornwall, because my last show sort of slagged it off. Well, it didn't really slag off Cornwall, sort of just a few people in it, I guess, yeah. But it's quite beautiful, Cornwall is, and where we lived in Cornwall, there's this place called Sunny Corner, which I love, because it's sunny, and it's a corner. And you might be like, I didn't know why you told us that. I'll tell you why I told you that. Because where I live now, we live near a pub called The Friendship. And when we first moved there, I said to my partner, "Oh, can we go there for a drink?" And he said, "Do you want to go there because you think it's going to be very friendly because it's called The Friendship?" Yes, I do. And we went there, and let me tell you, they might need to think of renaming their pub. To the very hostile is what I would suggest. But Sunny Corner, lovely. And my mum used to take us crabbing till the break of dawn. Sunny Corner, we'd have a lovely time. And what it was, so first time we went there, my mum used bread rolls, and then we put a bloody crab line in, and the bread rolls just fell off, and then they're just floating off like yeasty jellyfish. And then my mum did some research and found out bacon brings all the crabs to the yard. I don't make the rules, that's how it is. So what it is, in Cornwall, where there's this, I don't know if you have one round here, but there's this myth and legend about this big red crab, Bigus redus, is Latin. And so my mum said, I reckon if we caught Big Red, then people would think we were brilliant and no one would shout skinny bitch at me anymore. And we said, well, that sounds great, Vivian, not really understanding what's happening because we're still children. But yes, so we took it very seriously. We'd go there every day after school, crabbing. We were dressed head to toe in blue because we were dressed as the ocean. And then, sometimes I would wear shorts, and that was to signify the tide being out. You see. And then one day we were crabbing away, and my mum got her crab line stuck in a bit of seaweed, so then she's sort of given it a tug, and then this big red thing is thrust to the surface, and we're like, it's big red, it's big red, it's big red, it's big red. The words of Big Red have skimmed across the waters, travelled to all the children far and wide, and they've all come to help, and they've all got in a line behind my mum to help her. One kid in the middle's got confused, thought it was a conger. So I do, bloody hell, Simon, we're here for the crab. And then eventually they've heaved and hoed, and they've bloody done it. They've caught Big Red, and he sort of arrived in an ominous mist because he was vaping. And even crabs are rolling with the times these days. And he was everything that everyone said he would be. He was covered in barnacles, and he had all the names of all the previous crab fishers that had lost their lives to him tattooed on his claws. And he was bloody massive. What we would do, oh Cornish, he was bloody massive. Catch yourself sometimes. Bloody hell, imagine this in the bedroom. Bloody hell. Oh, yeah. Shiver my timbers. So anyway, usually we get the crabs, put them in a bucket, and then release them down the slipway afterwards. But this crab was too big, so we had to go get a biffa bin, bring that up, pop him in, and then we just put him in there, and he's got a bit of seaweed in his teeth, so he's just flossing it. And then suddenly the mood's changed again. Another ominous mist, blueberry. And then this prick has come from nowhere, and he's come, looked in the biffa, and he's gone, "Here, caught Big Red, have he?" "Yes, we have. None of your business." And then he's picked up Big Red by the crab line that he's flossing with, and then he's just slammed him on the slipway. But it's like, you know, in them films like with Sylvester Stallone, don't you think Sylvester Stallone sounds like a badass, but Sylvester does not? Yeah? You know them films where someone will punch Sylvester Stallone and then he'll just go like it won't bother him. Yeah, this is like Big Red's just like straightening his shallop, not fast, you see. And then Big Red's then got the crab line, this knobhead's got the other side of it, then Big Red's just gone and then he's on the floor like with his head all bent round, and that's the origin story of how Banana Red's called Banana Red. No one's fucking with us anymore, let me tell you that. Me and all the kids going around cheersing with our Laughing Cow cheese triangles. Bunch of legends, yeah. And life was pretty good after that. Yeah, as a result, the word travel, my mum got a new job, and she was, I think it was like Thornton, in a Thornton's shop or something like that, and it was all year round, not just Easter. Her job was people would come in and they'd be like, I got a message from my cousin or whatever, and then my mum would ice the message on a big Easter egg all year round. That's what she'd do. Well, it didn't really last long because she's dyslexic. Nothing made sense. But I reckon she's just involved with espionage, so everything made sense to someone. And then she got a job for years and years and years in a cinema. She was a cleaner in a cinema, but because my mum is, God bless her. So my mum and her friend Paula, when they worked at the cinema, they made joke 6, as in out of what's it called? The Heinz vegetable soup. And then they must have like added gelatine or something because it's set, and then they would put all these joke 6 around the cinema. But my mum was a cleaner in the cinema. So everyone would just be like, why is there all this sick in the cinema? And my mum would be like, I keep having to have these meetings because everyone thinks there's sick everywhere. But it's not real. So very, very flawed, that, really. Yeah, and then like my life inside the house was lovely. Like I loved my mum more than I've ever loved anyone ever, really. But outside, peril. And I was drinking a lot and all this. I remember once, did you ever, I think it depends on if you had a big house. When you were a kid and you had a big house and you say you're going out drinking, would you bring people back to... But you would, wouldn't you, if you had a big house. But if you didn't, like, we had a tiny house. My mum was like not in the wall, Harriet. That's what there was a girl at uni and she had a friend who, well, that's a terrible story. Well, she was found in a wall, cut up, murdered. I don't know what. So my mum was not in the awful business, yeah. So anyway, so it does depend on your house, doesn't it, whether you bring anyone back? If it's big, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, people used to walk me home, but then in my house, right, in Cornwall, there's like an alleyway there, and then you walk round to get in, and then there's like a wall there. So if someone's walked me back after a night out, I don't want to bring them in, we'll just sit on the wall here and chat. And then, but when you're pissed and you're chatting louder than you think you are, so I think what must have happened was my mum's heard my voice and then a boy's voice that she's not recognised, so she's thought I was in danger. So my mum's just appeared at the end of the alleyway in a nightie with a rolling pin in her hand. But because it's dark, the moonlight, she just lit up, looks like a ghost. So then this kid goes, do you see that? And by this point, I've had enough of him, so I'm like, see what? And then she's chased him. And then I like the idea of, so he'd come round every so often, but like in the daytime, but I would always tell her to not be in, because I like the idea of he'd see photos with her in. Be like, it's that woman. What are you talking about? Like, in the film Witches, where that girl, she gets old in the picture and then she's not there anymore. I love that film. And it was filmed in Cornwall as well, actually. I've digressed anyway. Yes, so I was drinking a lot, and then I always, my mum knew as well, the moment I got old enough I was going to leave Cornwall, and when you're not from money, innit, the only way you can leave somewhere is when you have to go to uni, didn't you? And then I didn't want to go to fucking uni, just wanted to get the fuck out of Cornwall. But then, so I needed to save up money, and then I got a job at the corporate jumble sale, TK Maxx, which I loved. And then, I think it's the same, isn't it? Wherever you work in retail, if your store is suffering, they always get someone from somewhere else to try and make it better or something. So this prick from Reading came and he had a big fat quiff and black shirt and cowboy boots, and he was full of shit. He told everyone that he went out with Natalie Imbruglia and Michelle Collins, but I think Michelle Collins has got a holiday home in Cornwall because she come into TK Maxx one day, didn't know who the fuck he was, so he's chatting rubbish. And then, you know, when you work full time, you work with people, you think you like them, but when you go out in the real world, you're like, oh God, I just tolerate you and I think I like you because I see you all the time. So then when we were drinking, going out, I got very discombobulated, and me and him ended up snogging, and we were very mortified. He was mortified. I wasn't best pleased with myself. And then, because I was going to uni, I wanted to transfer the job to the Birmingham TK Maxx. So he said he sorted it out. So I thought he was sorting it out because he was mortified looking at my face every day. So it was all sorted out. So then I finally went to uni, went to the Birmingham TK Maxx to start the shift. The little prick, he had not sorted it out. And I have the demeanour of someone very mentally ill at the best of times. Let alone when I'm in full uniform for a job that didn't exist. And because I worked in the TK Maxx in Cornwall for so many years, we used to make our own name badges. So not only did I turn up in full uniform for a job that didn't exist, but I also had a name badge that said Queen Latifah. Bloody hell. And then it was like, like if there's a fugitive on the run and then they put a photo of them in the airport, so they had to send a fax of me in my uniform to the Truro TK Maxx to then go, oh yeah, it's Queen Latifah, fucking keep her, the mad bitch, Jesus. But then there was a lot of downtime, and when I wasn't in my lessons, everyone else was at their lessons, so I'd speak to my mum a lot, I'd write to her a lot, and then I got my first contract phone, and then I'd put the phone next to me on the bed and pretend, that's quite losery, innit, pretend my mum was next to me, and then I'd be chatting to her. And then one time, she just wasn't answering, and then my dad just dropped it into conversation. He goes, oh yeah, don't worry, she's had a stroke. What? And he goes, yeah, she's had a stroke, but don't worry about it. Don't come home. And I said, really? She went to the hairdressers, and then they were cutting her hair. That's what they do. And they were having a spag bowl. What? And cutting her hair. And then she's had a stroke. And then the hairdresser's gone, I think we need to call an ambulance. And my mum's gone, finish cutting my fucking hair first. Yeah. The severe bob. Yeah, but my dad was like, don't come home. And I was like, really? So then this woman, because then I worked in the Birmingham TK Maxx, so then this woman, Tracy, who used to work in the Cornwall, well, we had a bit of beef. What happened was, when I was in Cornwall, I went to a barn dance rave, and then I got my foot stuck in a 12-foot paper mache donkey. And then, palaver. And then this man dressed as Bob Marley, he rescued me from, I fell on a bale of hay, and then my leg was fucked. So then I went to TK Maxx the next day to start my shift, and then they see me on the CCTV cameras and were like, Harriet, to the office. So then I went to the office, and they were like, what's happened to you? I said, well, you'll never guess what. I went to a barn dance rave, I got my foot stuck in a 12-foot paper mache donkey, and then I fell, and then a man dressed as Bob Marley rescued me, and they're like, we need to go to the hospital. And that's on a Saturday. So very busy day in TK Maxx. So that's how bad it was. So then I went there to the hospital, and then the doctor's like, I think we need to put it in a plaster cast. And I said, I can't be having it in a plaster cast. I'm going raving tonight. So I escaped while Tracy was waiting for me in the car. So that's why there was beef. Like, she was very upset with me because she was just in the car. But once she realised I was a lovable rogue, things were all right. So then I've told her, because she's at the Birmingham one now, so then I've told her about my mum, and she's gone, well, why don't you ring up the hospital, see what she sounds like, and then if she doesn't sound very well, then go home. I said, great idea, Tracy. So I rang the hospital, spoke to my mum. She sounded like a fucking blancmange in a tumble dryer. She sounded fucking awful. So I went home to make sure she was all right. To be honest, she never really did the same out of that. After that, did I say the same out of that? It makes no sense. I worry about this. Have I made sense all the way? Because once I was on holiday with my friend and I was chatting to this man, and then they both looked at each other, and then my friend goes, oh, she does that. She says her words weird and you've got to sort of piece it together. I said, really? So I worry that I'm just not. But yeah, she never was the same. But she was a proud Yorkshire woman, so she wouldn't accept that there was a problem. Bless her. And she wouldn't take any medication. She would do. If ever there was a problem, she'd be like, I'll have my book. She had this book, Foods That Harm, Foods That Heal. What's that doing, Vivian? She'd be like, lost your ear. She'd be like, put a blueberry in it. Yeah, bless her. Yeah, and then so she wouldn't take any medication. And she said, I'm not taking medication because once I was watching a film and then I was eating, I had my tray there and I was just sick on my tray. And then another time I went shopping and then I needed a wee and then I pulled my trousers down so I could get up the stairs quicker and go to the toilet. And then I forgot to take my shoes off and then my legs buckled, fell on the floor, shat myself. But I said, Mother, neither of those things are down to taking medication. And then a friend of mine in Cornwall stayed... No one's ever laughed that much at that bit. And then a friend of mine from Cornwall stayed over and then said that they woke up in the night to my mum just staring off into the distance next to the... had sat on the edge of the bed and then was just staring into the distance. And my mum, I said, that's weird, Mum. And she was like, oh, well, I'm uncomfortable in my own bed. Why don't you just sit on someone else's? She said, well, I could have been staring at them. And I said, well, yes, that would have been more upsetting, but... Yeah. And then we all do, isn't it? Even when you're with the person that you love the most in the world, sometimes when you're fucking mental, you still can't see beyond your own spiders in your head. So there was a time where I wasn't speaking to my mum as much, and the last time I barely spoke to her, well, she said she had indigestion. So I said, well, you need to stop eating your dinner on a tray in the living room. You need to eat it at the table. She's only had 3 heart attacks, and I'm bless you. And I'm telling her to eat her dinner in the bloody living room. Yeah, so she's had all these heart attacks. Then my dad's like, I think we need to call an ambulance. And then my mum's like, can you please just pop to Holland and Barrett? Yeah. Get me some Echinacea. Eventually got an ambulance and then took her to hospital. And then she needed a scan. So, oh my God, is it called a scan? The big thing? That's it. I was practicing earlier. I had to have one of them because of my bloody ears, and you'll never guess what happened. There was a power cut and I was trapped. Yeah, can you believe that? But everyone was doing the bloody, what's it called? Here, and I was in the machine. Yeah, they reckon head trauma, that's why my ears don't work. It's a bit of an anticlimax when you've been stuck in a fucking scan machine for half a day. Half. Was it? Yes. So she's waiting for a scan. So then my dad. That looks really funny in the mirror. So my dad and brother went back home to get her an overnight bag, and then her friend was God bless her. Don't, when you're filming, take the names out, I guess. Especially when I tell you this about my mum's friend. Oh no. My mum's friend, full stop, as she's got a son who's got a dick like a pig, and he's yeah. Isn't that mad? So I think if you sleep with someone who's got a dick like a pig, do you then spin round? Because it's curly. So you're like just spinning round like a corkscrew. Yeah. Yeah, so my mum's friend, bless them, so they both had strokes, so neither of their left-hand sides worked properly, so I used to call them Yang and Yang. I mean that was probably the best joke in this, probably. Yeah, and once they come to TK Maxx and they were looking at handbags and then they went for a cup of tea and then they come back giggling because they didn't feel that they'd put all these handbags on their shoulders. They'd gone off with 6 handbags. Walked out with them. So my mum's friends, so they decided not to give her a scan because she was too weak. And then her friends talking to my mum, and her friend said that my mum just rolled over, and then that was it. Yeah, she died. It was really sad. And we always shoulda, woulda, coulda, didn't we? We always think, oh, what was the last thing I said to her? And you beat yourself up that you couldn't be there. Let me tell you where I was. I needed to go to Cornwall quickly. I lived in Manchester, and for some reason I wasn't thinking straight. I couldn't afford to get the train, so I asked a friend to give me a lift. Why did I choose this friend? The sort of friend, you know, when you speak to someone, and every single time it's only a matter of time before you say these words to them. Sorry, you're importing what now? You know, that sort of friend. So he's like, yeah, I'll give you a lift to Cornwall, and then on the way there, he's like, I've just got to do this one thing. Did you know how much money there is in bull semen? Hell of a lot. So when my mum had died, I was on my way to a pub in Walsall with a bin bag of bull semen wibbling around on the seat behind. And it was, just let that compute. And it happened October the 26th, so it was on the one day that there was an extra hour to the day. So it was the worst day of my life with an extra hour. And you do, don't you? When you've lost someone before they should have gone, you find it very difficult to be, you know, when there's like cantankerous old cunts going about their business, and you're like, ugh. Why is this bastard still alive? And my poor lovely mother isn't, but you can't live your life like that because you just send yourself mad, angry that people are still alive. And it also made me think, I wish I'd had those little banana defibrillators. Well, that's the best that bit's gone, even though what a beautiful little, and you start, sad. Oh, my partner's mum's a bloody nightmare. She's just so angry, and my mum was just so like lovely and calm and placid, whereas my partner's mum, she's 75, and she was telling me what happened was a friend come round and a friend's son ate a whole jar of her beetroot. And then she goes, that little fucking bastard needs to fucking watch himself or I'll fucking body slam him. At 75, bloody Geraldine Haystacks, and all of her kids have got these massive, big, oval, beautiful eyes, and I think that's where she's had them all in a chokehold as children. Yeah. But we're all just a product of our upbringing, aren't we? Really. So she's just, you know, she hasn't had a very nice life, really, and this is completely true as well. She was telling me, I once went out with this pimp. That's what she's saying. She went out with this pimp, and then he had a cane, and you unscrewed the top, and there was a dagger. Yeah, like bloody Mask of Zorro, but instead of Z for Zorro, it would be T for trafficker, because pimps are really romanticised. She always gets her words muddled up. So she's always going on about Tim Book 1. Yeah, Tim Book 1. I said, do you mean Tim Book 2? Not my partner's mum. And she goes, no, Tim next door Book 1. He's fucking cat. Got this cat, no-face cat. So everyone says it's a no-face cat, and I thought, what is everyone on about this no-face cat? But I always see the cat with its back to me, and then one day, turn round, it's got no face. I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because apparently it got clipped by a Fiat Punto, right? And like I said, I was like, that makes sense, because I've seen a Fiat Punto going around with the face of a cat, you see. But I never I never thought anything to it, you see. I just assumed it was the natural progression from, when people have cars with eyelashes. That's how it goes. Cars with eyelashes. Cats. Cat faces. My partner, he also gets his words muddled up. He was, so my partner's got 4 kids. We've got all the 4 kids. You think, quickly, but don't you think it's extraordinary that I'm considered the safest option? That we've got all the kids, mental. But anyway, so they were taken from the kids' mum. So my partner's obviously still in touch with her because of the kids. They were voice noting the other week, and I was listening as best I can. And basically, he said to her, "Don't get high rate with me." And then she's gone to him, "I'm not getting high rate with you, you're getting high rate with me." And I said, "Do you both think it's high rate?" And because they were childhood sweethearts, they learnt the word together, thought it was high rate, which I just thought was very funny. So I was taking the piss, and then they were both a bit embarrassed, and I said, "I'm ever so sorry. I didn't mean to insult your intelligence." Yeah. So the kid's dearie. So bless her. So the kid's mum, she's just, and then she was going out with this guy who we were excited about because he didn't have any testicles. So I thought, I don't know why, but I just imagined that he had a sheet of lasagna there instead. Yeah. So he didn't have any testicles, and he didn't drink, which is one of our big problems. So we were really excited. But then what happened was he was off his head, and then he chased the children with a crowbar. Yeah. And then I said to her, you need to start thinking about these men that you're getting with, and choosing better men for the kids, and preferably, call me old-fashioned, but not men that are going to chase your children with crowbars. And she said, this is what she says. It wasn't a crowbar, it was a wrench. So this is what we're dealing with. So then we had this, we all had, let me bloody put my head through my new pasta machine in anguish. And then if I put my head through a pasta machine, Dr. Zoidberg with the things, I'd imagine that instead of them, I'd have tagliatelle. But anyway, so then we had to have this meeting where she was going to have contact again and all this business, and then it seemed to go well. We all got on with each other, and then the next day, they had they had contact, and then at that meeting, she asked me and my partner if we wanted a threesome with her. I've got no joke about that bit. I'm just absolutely shocked. It's just speechless. Nothing about this situation is making me feel horny. And then, and then the next day, she was pulled up on it, and she was like, I was on coke. Okay then. And then that sort of, now the kids are like that, because with the oldest kid, well, they're like 19, 21 now, but the oldest kid, we got her a job in a pizza place by us, and then she dropped the pizza on the floor, put it back in the box and give it to the customer, and then the customer's like, "I've just seen you drop the pizza on the floor, and then you've put it in a box and given it to me," and the oldest girl goes, "It wasn't cheese side down." So this is what we're dealing with. And then the other daughter, she come out as a bisexual asthmatic, and then she did, and then the next day, because I had to catfish to get them jobs, because I asked them to do it themselves. I asked them to copy and paste the CV I'd done for them into the Indeed thing, and then the oldest, she copied her telephone number and pasted it as her name. So this is what we're dealing with. So then when she come out, it was 7-7. When she come out as a bisexual asthmatic, the next day I said, "I've got you a job at Turtle Bay." Colours drained from her face because she didn't know Turtle Bay was a restaurant. She thought I was sending her to an island. Not even joking. It's just a Caribbean restaurant in Manchester. So yeah, it's not really a happy ending to this, really. But there's The boys, so the girls, well, I'll tell you this. So the oldest girl found us very boring, because we are quite boring. We lived in the countryside, don't do drugs, is that boring? I've done enough over the years, let me tell you. So then, so she went back to live with her mother, and then her mother got a new boyfriend that looked like Patrick Swayze, but did he? And then, and then he had a friend who was a handyman and also a crackhead. So then the mother was accusing her daughter of getting with the crackhead, but they weren't. So kicked him out, and then they got together. So the daughter rang us and said, "Can I come back home?" Of course you can. Can I bring the crackhead? Probably not. And now she's with the crackhead's brother. And I said, "This is not foundations for a relationship here." And she said, "Oh well, I got a type." Yeah, but a type is like tall, dark, and handsome, not related. Like, her idea of online dating is ancestry.com. It's just, yeah. Yeah. So I can only bring a horse to water, but then they're always like, well, you always on about these wet horses, Harriet. Hey. So we got the boys full time. God bless them, they're absolutely adorable, bless them. And but they'd never been to the seaside. So I took them to the seaside and all that. Took them crabbing, and then they had a big fat argument. And the bloody turn my back for a second. The crab lines, they look like Mr. Messy. There's just chaos. And then I've had an argument. One of them slipped on a bit of bacon, and I said, "Careful, or you'll split your difference." What I love is, I don't know if it's a British thing or a universal thing, but people always think that they can't be seen if they're just... Oh my God, I'm here. Yeah. Bless them, the kids. And then, so the oldest... I have no idea. The oldest boy, because I have a birthday every year, and then I didn't mention it this year, and then the oldest boy gave me a folded up bit of paper, and it said to him from him, and he got a bit confused, but it said, "Thank you for all you do. We really do appreciate it," which I thought that was really nice. And then in July we went to Blackpool, and then on the way back, the oldest boy's gone, "These were the best days of my life." And that's how low the bar is. Blackpool! Oh, bless her. And I realise it's none of their faults. They just, I've just been lucky that I had a great mother, really, because they have no point of reference. That's why it's all just fucking chaos, because they didn't have a good mother. Whereas, whether you've believe in people looking down on you or whatever, I guess my mum, she sort of lives on through me. Do you know what I mean? Because I think, well, what would my mother do? And yeah, that's the show, really. Final moth. It's, that is a moth. Thank you. No, it's a moth disguising it. This is true. They disguise themselves as turds. Yeah. So when my mum was judgmental all those years ago, thinking I was bringing her turds, well, Vivian, they're actually moths being turds. Thank you. And that's the show. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming along. It's very, very kind of you to spend your Saturday with me. These were recommended for me on Amazon. I think you're nailing life. If you're on the computer, Amazon's like, I think you might like these. You're fucking right. I bloody would. I'm almost 40. And so thanks so much for coming.